Hi, welcome to the Neoprene Playmat. I'm Matt, your host, and I wanted to jump in on this conversation surrounding HeroQuest. Um, at first, I heard tons of people complaining about it, and then recently there's been some advocates like Alex from Board Game Co. has come out, and he said why he thought HeroQuest, essentially why Hasbro made all of the right moves here, and there's been a few other advocates as well. On Board Games, the podcast, they jumped in and talked a little bit about it from a business perspective. And I just wanted to weigh in, get my opinions out there, kind of go through the good, the bad, the things I'm a little bit indifferent on. So I guess to begin with, let's talk about where things started for me. So HeroQuest, there's this big countdown. I'm staring at the screen, like, oh, this is really interesting. I wonder what Hasbro's doing. And if you remember, maybe it was July or late June, there were some rumblings out there that Restoration Games was trying to get their hands on the rights to publish this game. And so I was like, oh man, is this going to be something new? Is this a reinvention or retooling? Is Hasbro taking a look at it and going to change things up? Well, this countdown comes out and everybody's pumped. Nobody knows exactly what it is. And on the release date, it ends up being that HeroQuest is being re-released with some new artwork. And it's through crowdfunding on a website called Pulse, which is run by Hasbro. It's essentially a crowdfunding platform, a pre-order system almost. And so they posted this up, and as you can see, we've got the game. It's got new artwork from the original. The artwork here, it's in the same kind of positioning, but it's definitely new. And just updated, a little bit cleaner lines. Some people have liked it. Some people wish they just went with the same art they had. But I don't think it's necessarily bad or good. Is what it is. But you can see over here in their target, they wanted to raise $1 million before releasing this product, and they were able to raise thus far. We got almost 40 days left here, and it's almost at $2 million. And they came at it with two tiers. You've probably already been through this. I don't necessarily need to dive into all the little details here, but essentially what they decided to do though was release the exact same game. There's really no difference from the original game. The heroic tier is what the normal box would come with. And then they created, and here's all the new sculpts and everything. They're adding like doors and all sorts of cool stuff. Here's this gargoyle. These are all renders, so take that for what it is. I don't know if these are finalized yet or not, but there's usually some changes when they kind of get to machining things. These are probably the coolest piece of the campaign. They have these doors and tombs and sorcerer's table here, weapons rack, all this stuff. Which is cool to get this stuff, but I think a lot of people were expecting that HeroQuest was going to be retooled, especially when Restoration Games was talking about it. Even when that countdown came up, Restoration Games came out and said, we have nothing to do with whatever's going on. And so Hasbro decided to release the exact same game. Here's the expansions as well. So these were really hard to get, I guess, when HeroQuest originally came out in the 80s. And there were only a few that were printed, and so this is kind of a big deal that people can get access to them now if they didn't have them when they were a kid. But diving back into it, I was thrown aback when I heard that essentially they're just reprinting a 40-year-old game, maybe 35-year-old game. And I was a little angry at first. I was like, man, this has so much potential. So many people like this. As you can see, it's almost got $2 million. So many people like this game. And then I started to think about it, and I'm like, this game wasn't made for me. I was born in 1990, so HeroQuest wasn't really something on my radar. It wasn't something that I'd ever played. To this day, I still haven't played it. I do have a copy, the original copy of it, that a friend found at a thrift store for $1, but it's missing a ton of miniatures. So unless I sub something in, I can't really get the full experience. So I've never played before. But I know there's tons of people out there that are nostalgic that probably just wish they could have a copy of what they had when they were a kid to show off to their kids, to pass down through the generations. And so it's kind of cool that this is making that more accessible. And I think this is more maybe for the collector or the person looking for that nostalgic thing. From my end, as a hobby board game enthusiast, I don't necessarily need HeroQuest. I don't. I mean, there's Gloomhaven, there's Descent. There's tons of these different dungeon crawlers that have modern mechanics. And honestly, when you start changing things, people get mad. People complain. Either you did too much or you didn't do enough. And where's Hasbro going to draw the line as to how they're going to develop? They get in trouble pretty much anytime they try and innovate. Everybody just expects kind of the same old from them. And so going this nostalgic route, I think, is a good one for them to, one, raise capital, and two, kind of serve that fan base of the initial game. Now the question comes in, though, of why would $1 billion company need to do crowdfunding? Why would they need to raise all of this money? And I think there's a lot of really good answers for this. Actually, when I started thinking about it, at first I was like, they don't need this. They could just print this. Well, Hasbro doesn't have any retail stores. They have to sell their games essentially at a wholesale price to the Walmarts and the Targets and these big box stores. And those stores typically do not carry any games that are $100 or $150 in value. I'm wondering if there was, in those conversations, if those major stores, those major retailers were afraid to put a board game on their shelf that costs that much. When you have something like this where you can say, hey, look at the demand for this, look at how many people want this, it makes that sell easier. It makes it easier to get into those stores because you can say, look at how many people already bought this, and that's only the people that know about Pulse and that are coming here to pledge for it. Additionally, we got to remember too, Hasbro is part of, Wizards of the Coast is part of Hasbro, and I can guarantee you they've been taking huge cuts in finances since Magic the Gathering can't do any tournament play. COVID-19 has really shut down the Magic scene, and it's hard to push things like Standard, which keeps people in stores buying packs and playing when there's no tournaments to play at. I'm sure their revenues are down super, super far from COVID, from their Wizards of the Coast branch. Now, I don't have any facts that say that, or I don't have anybody on the inside that's telling me that, but I'm going to assume that that's a problem. And so maybe HeroQuest was a project that they released to subsidize the losses, or at least some of the losses, from the Magic industry. And here you can see, well over $1 million pledged, almost to $2 million. Clearly people want this. Clearly people wanted just a reprint of this older game. If it truly wasn't popular, then we wouldn't see anybody backing it. We wouldn't see this funding level if everybody wanted something new. So there's definitely an audience out there for it. Now, that said, that doesn't mean the audience is the normal hobby board gamers. It could be, because there are probably some hobby board gamers that love HeroQuest, but there's also some people out there that grew up with this game that really know nothing about the hobby board game industry as it stands now, and just want something that they used to have, something that they grew up with and had a good time with. And I don't see anything wrong with that. There's also collectors out there that are more into getting games than playing games. And I even saw somebody on a Facebook chat I'm in that said they got HeroQuest. They're super happy about it. They don't know if it's ever going to hit the table, but they're just happy to have it on their shelf. And So if you have a collector's mindset, yeah, sure, this makes sense, right? You don't need to revamp and go through all of this development and wait for all of those reviews. That said, I do think their campaign page could use some work. It's not super clear that this is exactly the same game, that they're just republishing. There's no playthroughs or anything. I always like to have videos. I think it's kind of the industry standard now to be able to show your product and show how it all works. But clearly there was enough demand here that they didn't need to spend the extra expense. And then and beyond that, there's no community here either. With Kickstarter, when somebody backs something, there's some form of comments section where you can talk and discuss and kind of see how the campaign plays out. Here, they didn't really offer that to backers. They've given us a shipping date of 2021, but you do have to live in the United States or in Canada in order to have this delivered to you. They do have stretch goals, which is, coming off of Kickstarter. But back to the international backing and things, a lot of people are really frustrated with that, and I can see why. I mean, if we really think about it, board gaming has become a global industry, and it's important to be able to get to all those different fan bases. I know there's a guy in the UK that made a crazy HeroQuest video a while back that has tons and tons of views. I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. And like, he's not going to be able to get a copy of the new game unless he has it shipped to somebody in the States or in Canada, and then has it shipped from there or purchase it from somebody that backed it. But at the same time, you have to recognize how these licensing agreements work. Hasbro only has the license for the US and for Canada, the North America license for this title. I'm not positive. I think Games Workshop might have the license outside of the US, but so that means they're not allowed to distribute it out there. So wasn't necessarily their choice in the matter. Now that said, when they initially released, the amount of shipping on this to Canada was over $100. It was insane. But they've listened to kind of the complaints and people's frustrations with that, and believe they're now offering shipping to Canada for $30, which isn't cheap, but it's definitely not overly expensive either. For a game, especially if you're dropping $150 on it, to pay 20% in shipping isn't the worst thing in the world. And it's way better than over $100, which is where it started. So at least they're listening to people and responding in certain ways. Obviously, they're big companies that are going to get flack for whatever decisions they make, and so I'm actually pretty happy about how this is all gone, and I'm not too fed up about it. I've taken a while to think about it. I think I was a little more angry when I first heard the news, but there's a lot of good going on here. It's not something I'm gonna back. It's not something I want to put on my shelf, but I'm happy that this is out and available for individuals that want that nostalgic experience, that want to play this game from their childhood or just want it on their shelf. I think that was a good move by Hasbro, and honestly, I think they would have gotten way more flack if they tried to change everything, and people didn't like it, or people didn't find it close enough to the original game. And so I think they played it a little safe, but in a time of financial insecurity with COVID going on, with Magic tournaments still down, with everything going on, I think this was a good move to kind of get some cash flow, get a project that people are excited about, and move towards something good. Anywho, what are your thoughts? Do you think this HeroQuest release on Pulse.com was a good idea? Do you think it should have gone to Kickstarter? What are your thoughts? I'm really curious to know. As always, just hit me up in the comments below and I'll get back to you. And have a great day.